All right, welcome back to another episode, GPPD podcast. Man, it seems like it's been a while, so I'm gonna introduce myself. I'm KD.
My name's Nathan.
And I'm Aaron.
Oh, it's been a while. All right, so before we get started, as usual, May 18th is our next testing date. So grandprairiepolice.org, get on there, fill out 117 pages history statement. It feels that way, but not sure. It's not that many. But yeah, get online, fill that out, and then be ready to test. Read the requirements so that you know what you're doing before you get here. Because you have people show up in church shoes, and we don't want that.
Brian.
Because you have to do some running.
Oh, I was thinking like the interview. That's a good thing, I feel like.
Yeah, no, you have to do some running.
We have had people show up that have smoked drugs recently, that have looked at child here recently, that admit to lying on that giant form.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
No bueno.
Yeah. Or if you're going to, don't then immediately say you lied in the interview. It's like, what was the purpose?
Yeah. Save your gas. Gas is like $4 a gallon. All right.
Sorry for the burping. I ate that burrito. So.
Well, you're on one of these good energy drinks, and you only bought one. Look at my little coasters. It's all empty and
it's lonely.
Yeah, I can't keep providing everything for everybody. I have a finite amount of water, a finite amount of energy drinks.
See, drinks, plural. Yeah.
Well, the other one's gone. 2 for $6.
All right. So also while we're there, you can apply. We need help with 911 dispatchers or communications. They get paid very well. And also the jail, detention staff. I think that's it.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, Aaron, I'm looking forward to this.
Yes,
you
me
and I
too.
have known each other since I started here.
Since
It'll be a
we
good
were
time.
6 years old.
It'll be a good time.
Yes.
So, get us started. Tell us a little bit about yourself and
Yeah.
how you
So,
got here.
like I said, name's Aaron. I've been with Grand Prairie in total since 2012. Got hired. It's a funny story. I always said I was the only civil service jailer for the longest. So I tested in 2011, made the whole gauntlet of the background investigation, got my book together. It goes to, at the time it was Chief Dye, so it makes it to his office. Waiting around for a call. A week later comes by and Chief says, yeah, I'm not going to hire him. Not interested. I'm defeated. I've applied with like 10 different agencies trying to get a call over the last couple of years, and finally I make my way through this process.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't happen. Defeated, right?
Did he give you a reason?
No, because when it's generally a yes or no answer, like, hey, Chief, here's all the information I have on this applicant. Here's what he did. Here's what he runs. Here's what he weighs. Here's, you name it, psych, poly, you've done the whole thing. They're just typing up a summary of, here's what I found. Here's what the references said about him. Here's kind of his upbringing. I've talked to his family. Yes or no. But that's only the applicant on paper. He only sees what he can read, right?
Right.
Did you, now that you work here, did you not go back, because you spent some time at the academy, did you not like go back to either one, dig up your own file? Yes, you did, I can tell from
No, the plus side is I lived my file, right? Like, so, it covers your entire life.
No, I mean, like, I would want to know, did your background
Like the
guy
reason
go
for the
like,
X-nay?
he didn't like his face?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, personally, I think at that time in my life, on paper, I just look like a kid that's living at home, not paying bills, and you went to college, but I don't know.
Most of them are, yeah.
Right. Now, granted, that was 12 years ago.
Yeah.
When we, at the time, didn't require a college degree.
Right.
It was, you had to have 60 hours at least, and then you could go from there.
Right.
So we go through the gauntlet. He says no. A week later, I get a call from Solace, who was doing backgrounds at the time, and was like, hey, man, are you interested in working in the jail? And I was like, what is that? Like, what does that
Like, you didn't know what a jail was?
I knew what a jail was.
I see why he said no.
What is that job facet? And he was like, man, you're working for the city. Mm-hmm. You work for the police department. It can kind of open the door for you if this is truly what you want to do. At the time, I was working at 7-Eleven, so I was like, well, anything.
Wait.
Oh, thank heaven, but
we're not gonna skip over. We'll come back to it.
yeah. I was born in '88. We can talk about all things until the Lord's year of 2024. So I said, yeah, let's do it. Yeah. So August 12th of 2012, I got hired. At the time, if you worked 3 years for the department as either detention or as a dispatcher, you could then reapply as a officer.
Yeah, later.
And it would cover the college credit requirement we had then added. So as long as you worked for the jail or dispatch for 3 years with no issues, disciplinary issues, they would waive the college thing, and it went back to you only had to have the 60 hours.
Which I think is
still the case. Mm-hmm. But it gave you time to build a file on yourself of, hey, I may have looked like a kid that didn't know what he was doing, but now I have a track record of being able to show that I'm worthy, this, that, and the other. So that was the route I went. So again, like I said, I always made the joke that I was the only civil service jailer that worked down there, because for the jail, you still fill out the same packet to get hired, but you don't go through the, I don't want to say as extensive of a background, but you don't have to take a civil service test.
Right.
I don't show up to take a test. I don't do the PT stuff. I still do the poly and the psych and the background and calling other reps, but I'm not covered by civil service. You're more of an at-will employee. So did that in 12, sped through that, got to a point where I was a training officer down there in detention, got to where I was an acting supervisor in detention. Those were things, just resume builders for me. I mean, I enjoy teaching and showing people how to do the job. It's definitely important to remember, once you have a grasp on your job and you do it well, when you go to train that new person, remember you were just like them at one point. You were the lost in the sauce and can't find my head from my kind of thing.
And it's so easy to forget.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the first thing I forget.
So I took that for what it was, and then those 3 years sneak up on you. Obviously, it sneaks up because overtime was abundant and is abundant in the jail to be had, just due to staffing issues. I mean, you have to have, at a minimum, to run a shift, 2 in intake, 2 in housing, 1 in the tower, 1 in the bond desk, and a supervisor. So at a ghost skeleton crew, I can run it with 6 people and a supervisor. When I was down there, you generally had 5 a shift. So there was always mandatory overtime to cover. Yeah. And then in lieu of that, you've got on-call rotations because somebody's going to be burnt out from covering, the 6 days of overtime I had to sign up for.
On-call?
They're going to, so they're going to call
on-call for what?
Coverage. Or if you're short, so you got the 6 guys that are in charge of running the jail, right, and the supervisor. So that schedule is staffed. Well, people want to take vacation days, holidays, days off with their kids, whatever.
But I'm confused on how you call. Like, because you saying mandatory overtime.
Yep.
Okay, hey, so-and-so.
I love overtime. But if you make it mandatory.
There's a point to where you don't enjoy overtime. There is a point.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, like start of the month, boom, a list will come out and say, hey, these overtime slots need to be covered. So-and-so's taking vacation, they're taking holidays, so be it. Every shift kind of divides and conquers. Yeah. All right, everybody's got 3 we got to cover. All right, I'll take this day, this day, this day. And you work down in order of seniority, right? Yeah. Well, on top of that, those are the days that people are taking off.
not the sick days.
The unscheduled days off, like say somebody gets hurt, gets sick. COVID was a big thing. Yeah. That person's out 2 weeks. Yeah. Granted, I didn't work down there at the time when COVID was a thing, but the same thought applies. Yeah. So there were times you'd get a call at midnight, hey, man, I'm going to need you to come in tomorrow. So-and-so called out. And, again, it's gotten better. Yeah. We've added part-timers that have alleviated that load. We've gotten some better staffing. We've made adjustments to where there is now an actual tentative team lead position that does the training, does the active supervisor. There's a bump in pay. They've added a step to how high that ceiling can be. Awesome. But nonetheless, did that for 3 years. It snuck up on me, and I was like, oh, I'm at my 3-year mark. Like, let's get all our ducks back in a row. Yeah. At the time, I was a little concerned that my 3-year to the date was going to mess me because I got hired in August 12th of 2012. Yeah. The academy start date was August 10th of 2015. And I was like, surely they're not going to play games with these 2 days, right? So my former coworker, now supervisor, Cassandra down in the jail, her brother at the time, Chief Simmons, was kind of over that. I may or may not have tried to persuade him and be like, I want to be an officer. You should help me. Cassandra had a house party at the house, and everybody's around. I was like, oh, well, is your brother going to be there? Is your brother going to be there? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Chief will be there. What's he drink? Oh, okay. Anything else he likes? Okay. I'll go to the party.
Surely that sort of behavior wouldn't help you.
Well, it's anything I can do to boast myself, right? Because first time I tried this, I didn't look good, right? So she was like, yeah, he drinks this and he does this. I was like, okay. So he was there milling around, Coors Light. Yeah. So he was milling around. I conveniently had a 12-pack Coors Light lying around.
Well, look at here.
You need a beer, sir? Yeah, I got another beer for you. Hey, you need a beer? He's like, I like this guy. And she's like, yeah, he's trying to butter you up because he's taking a test. He was like, here's what it is. So everything went according to plan. Ran through the gauntlet, started the academy in August 10th of 15. Matter of fact, you were a lateral classmate.
Oh, I know that.
I definitely appreciate you day one. I don't know if we still hold the record. At the time, our academy's basics were really heavy loaded. I think we had 15 or 16 people. Mm-hmm. The laterals were like 3 or 4 in the academies. So day one, don't really know what to expect, but I'm assuming this militaristic view of yes or no, sir, and marching and doing all these things. It was very heavy on the PT. That was what we were doing. So we run from the CBE down to the track, get in formation, and at the time for your test to do the civil service to get hired, you have the mile and a half you have to do in like 15:26 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Well, the academy time is 12:35.
Oh yeah.
So you got to bump it down.
Yeah.
So we were class 4. We had to run the mile and a half for time. Mm-hmm. I was like, KD looks like he's in shape. I'm gonna try to stick with him. I stuck with him, miserable, right? And our class at the time was the only class day one that everybody in the academy made that marker time.
Oh, cool.
Day one. And it was like, oh, well, we don't even have to, because generally now some of the classes, it's like, no, we need to keep working on this. I need those times to come down. Yeah. We knocked it out. I stayed with him, stayed on his heels, sucking wind. I'm gassed. And I'm like, oh, that was it. All right, that's no one bad. I mean, that's going to be terrible for the next 6 months if we're doing that every day. But, hey, it'll get easier. So then at the time, Sergeant Sloan was the academy coordinator. He's like, all right, we'll walk a lap. Let's walk another lap backwards. Let's loosen back up. Well, at the track, there's a hill that pushes up towards stadium. He's like, all right, well, now that we're done with that, let's go ahead and run up the hill, touch the fence, run back down the hill, across the track, give me 5 burpees. I'll let you know when you can stop. Now I'm getting...
AKA, I forgot to schedule the next block.
Which is very common. Love him to death, but common with him. Yeah. So we do this thing, and I'm throwing a fit. Like, I'm gassed. I'm like, this is nonsense. Like, what am I doing here? Well, at the time...
sound kind of good.
Fuller, he in-shape guy, he gassed. Like, he about fell out running, finishing the mile and a half. And they already told him, hey, you're done. Go ahead and have a seat. And he's got that drive, wants to stay after it. And what's funny is Fuller and, at the time, Ditto, they got hired in the jail. So
he's still Ditto. He just doesn't work here anymore.
True. So our academy class was 3 civil service tests put together.
Okay.
So Ditto and Fuller were in civil service test 1. Well, to complete and get to the next civil service test, I have to hire or not hire those people. Mm-hmm. So they elected to hire Fuller and Ditto. Mm-hmm. What am I going to do with them? So they ended up putting them in the jail. They worked with me in the jail for about 9 months till the academy start date. Yeah. I trained both of them into how to do that job. So it was cool because all 3 of us grew up, knew each other, worked well together.
Sure.
Then we transitioned to the academy. So as we're doing this up the hill, touch the fence, back down the hill, we get to a point where somebody asks how much time's left. I was like, I don't know why you asked that, because he told you he's going to let us know when we stopped. I was like, you just added 45 minutes to this nonsense because you're asking questions. Like, keep your mouth shut.
Oh, if you said that out loud, I just knocked it correctly.
It was. So I'm touching the top of the fence, and he yells, we're 15 minutes in, 15 more minutes. And I just throw a fit. Like, I'm just like a 5-year-old throwing a tantrum at the top. I'm like, this is dumb. I don't want to do this anymore. And Fuller the whole time is like, I got to help Eric. I got to get up there. They're like, no, Fuller, you're going to pass out. Stay down. Yeah. Miserable. But I survived. I'm here today. It was a good time.
You puke or?
I do have a good puke story from the academy. Okay. Have you ever thrown up while running.
Yeah.
Like continuing, like you don't stop, like you just keep going.
Like a horse
that's
pooping and
very
running.
hard to do. That's difficult.
It's hard to do and stay clean.
Yes.
Yeah. It's actually super easy to do.
Week 2 of the academy, it might have been week 1. It was super early. Chief liked to do a workout. He was big into CrossFit with his academy class, right? Like these are my kids. So at the time, our CrossFit gym was down Hill Street.
Yeah.
By, I forget the name of the school that's up there on the hill by the little walkway bridge on 161. Well, you would form up in formation at CB, run down the hill and back up the hill to the box, do the 2-hour workout from hell, and then load back up and run back. Very often did you get a shuttle to and fro. It's like, well, I'm doing a workout there, and you're going to make me work out before and after too. Like, so he wants to have this CrossFit workout like 2 weeks in. We run down there. We do this CrossFit workout. I'm sucking wind, miserable. Had water, drinking it, trying to hydrate. Drank way too much water. I already know it. Way too much. We get back in formation. I can feel it. It's fixing to come up. We're standing there, and Fuller's next to me. He's like, "Hey, you good?" And I'm like, "Nah, I'm fixing to hurl. Like, I drank way too much water." He was like, "Hey, let's get to the station, man. Chief's here." I was like, "I know, but I don't know when this is happening, but it's going to happen. Just letting you know.
Hold your throat
Just
up,
letting you know." And I'm at the front of the formation.
Oh, no.
So we take off. We're jogging. Chief's calling it. Well, when we would run to formation, they would get the old Suburban. That way, when they got to Carrier and Hill, they could pull up, hit the lights, block traffic for us to get to the intersection, so they would tail us. I think we're on the downward slope. We hadn't even made it to the halfway point at the intersection, and it's coming up. And I kind of shift to the middle of the formation, letting people pass me, working to the back. I think I stopped for like 2 seconds, hurl, and I was like, I got to keep going. I can't let the Chief, like, Chief's twice my age. I was like, and he already told me he didn't want to hire me once.
I was going to say,
this is not good, right? Like, here's the reason why I didn't hire him the first time.
I didn't like his face.
Yeah, I hurl, and I'm still running. I threw up like 6 more times. I'm still running. There's a video somewhere of Sloan laughing in the Suburban while he's getting a ride, like filming me do all this. We get back to formation. They're already at CV, at attention. Chief's giving a spiel. Of course, he's like, and some of you aren't fit to be in this unit, and you feel small. Come to find out, like 2 hours later, at the time, Sergeant Robinson pulls me out and was like, "Hey, so I want you to go back to the jail. Doesn't think you're going to cut it here." And I was like, "That's understandable." I felt that was coming because I didn't, kind of fell out and running. He goes, "But I also told him it's week 2. And I have 6 months to get you where you need to be." So he's blessed us with an opportunity, a second life. Keep doing what you're doing. We'll get you where you need to be. So I owe a lot of where I'm at to Sergeant Robinson for saving my head on the block there.
That's funny.
Get to the academy. We hit the streets January of 16, February of 16. FTO's a blast. It was neat because I got to know a lot of the guys that were patrolmen at the time from booking in their guys they brought to jail for the last 3 years. So it was a really easy transition for me as a people person. FTO it's wild. I mean, it's baptism by fire.
Yep.
Hey, we taught you some stuff and you read some books. That's cool. You're educated. They said you could do things. Let's go do them in real life. Had a lot of good FTOs. Gambino when he was here. Carnivale when he was, still here. Tuba. Tuba was...
What the hell happened to Carnivale?
Nothing. He's
not at FTO.
deploying.
Yeah.
Not in the FTO.
Oh,
he transferred
okay.
to deployment,
Gotcha.
so he's not doing FTO stuff anymore.
Did I miss an email?
No. We might have gotten one, but I don't think so. Tuba. Got some more stories with Tuba.
Yeah.
I definitely, within like 20 seconds of meeting him, he yelled at me to use my words appropriately and had like a little resignation letter, like, I do not recommend, like, sitting under the computer. And was like, don't make me, like, go turn this in because you're killing me. It was literally day 1 of phase 2. Like, all right, you did your beginning phase, you're kind of learning. Phase 2, you should start kind of like coming out of your cocoon and working on getting your wings ready to go. We're in the parking lot loading up. Hey, I'm Tuba. Hey, I'm Aaron. Nice to meet you. All right, let's go fight crime. Let's save the day. I get sent to a paper call. So I'm heading out. I look at the map. I know where I'm going. Well, as I'm pulling out of the station, a burglary in progress comes out. And it's right on the other side of the street, like off of Blueberry. So literally 161, Robinson, Carrier, hang a right, take a left. Scene. 30-second drive time. they delay me, transfer me. Hey, be en route, active burglary, blah, blah, blah. 10-4. So I'm like, oh, no, where am I going? What are we doing? Active burglary. I'm supposed to take paper. She was like, all right, you ready? I'm like, yeah. So I'm looking at the map. I'm nervous because I don't know what to be. And they're giving me radio traffic. Hey, I'm going to come from the east.
And you're supposed to be going fast with lights.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that.
Hey, I'm coming from the east. Let's set up a perimeter and choke point and all this stuff. And they're talking and they're relaying information and they're asking, hey, 232, do you copy? And I'm not catching any of it. Like, I'm lost in the sauce. And Tuba goes, hey, did you copy what they were saying? I was like, yeah, 10-4. He goes, did you understand any of that they told you? And I was like, no, sir. He goes, then why did you say 10-4? I was like, I don't know, sir.
That's what we say.
And now we've gone from the exit of the building, and now we're at 161 in Arkansas. Like, we've made it 10 feet, and all of this has transpired.
Oh, okay.
And Tuba has this thing of letting you know that you've disappointed him with the little nose breathe, where you just get a good... And
I was going to say calling you but
do noises. Yeah, definitely. That he's getting to a point. So they continue giving me updates and this, and they're asking if I copy. And now we've made it, to Robinson. I still am not grasping with the information that's coming in. 10-4, and he's like, now this is the second time that I'm just 10-4ing just because I want to talk on the radio.
It sounds
right?
good.
It sounds
10-4.
good.
It sounds good.
So Tuba literally now I'm missing traffic for the fourth time.
Yeah.
And we're about on scene, and he points at the handheld radio and screams, "Use your words!" I pick it up for the fourth time, 10-4. He's like, Jesus Christ! Still had no idea. Like, I was a street off. Like, they already had the guys in
I
custody.
can't believe you're here right now.
It was bad. And then one time we passed like a streetwalker, like a lady just milling around on Tarrant, like in lane of traffic walking with us. I drive right. I change lanes to go around her. Like, we're not on call. Like, we're just cruising, right? I change lanes, don't want to hit her. I make it like a block or two, and Tuba goes, "What? Why didn't we talk to the lady in the middle of the street?" And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't know what to do with my hands.
I don't want to touch the radio.
It's anytime I want to get Tuba in a good mood, I just tell him of all the horror stories from training, and he's like, I feel so much better. So thank you for that. So I survived training. I figured out.
Oh, that's fun.
Get into the game of things.
It's funny because, like, with him being the personality he is, and you being the personality you are, you're just probably still, like, trying to be nice and talkative, and he's just trying to contain his homicidal rage.
Yes. Yeah, there were plenty of times he would tell me to pull into a parking lot, at 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night. Pull into this little parking lot right here. And I'd say, yes, sir. And I'd pull in. He goes, now get out of the car. I want you to make 3 laps and un-F yourself. Get back in the car. And if there's video footage on surveillance cameras, it's like, why does this cop just walk around his car? Like, what is he doing? I get back in. He goes, okay, let's continue with our business. Thank you, sir.
Oh, man.
So, yeah.
I can also see him just telling you to get out of the car and shut the door, and he just sits there and punches the dash. That's all you said I want to.
He definitely, on an A-PAL one time, ladies off a rocker, man. Off of Southwest 3rd, just south of Clarice. And she's got some mental health issues going on. She's by herself, not making a lot of sense. And Tuba had gotten something to eat, McDonald's or something. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening to the lady talk after he's already really cleared her. Katie shows up to back me. She's like trying to take over the call, right? She's got some time on. She's like, hey, let me help him handle it. Tuba's like, no. We're 15 minutes in and he ain't nowhere near a conclusion. Like, I knew we were going to ape out this lady immediately the moment we got here. Yeah. But I'm going to eat and then we'll see if he's made a decision. So like 10 more times, like we've been with this lady for 25 minutes. And so finally he walks up and he goes, do you feel that this lady is a danger to herself or others currently? I was like, oh, absolutely. Then let's take her to the hospital. Like, I ate my entire lunch. We've been here 25 minutes. I was like, okay, thank you, sir. So, like, yeah, a lot of stories. I figured it out. So, and you were a test to that one time. Once I was cut loose and we were operating in our own, personalized units, we had a dude that was a check welfare at the QT off of Green Oaks. It was like a delayed call of like 3 hours. They're like, guys behind the store, he's not making a lot of sense. We want a CTW issued.
Okay.
So at the time I was like, hey, this call's like 2.5 hours old. He's probably beat feet, gone somewhere else. I was like, I'll advise. So I get up there and
advising means
like I'll advise on a back. Like, I don't need a secondary
you take
unit.
a backup guy, be like, yeah, it's probably nothing.
It's 2.5 hours. Like, this guy's probably gone. Like, there's no reason for height at the time to come from 16 beat all the way to 11 beat. Like, I'll let you know. Well, the guy's still there. I'm like, okay. And he's talking to himself. Like, that's Awesome. So I was like, all right, go ahead and start to back the guys here. So I'm talking to him, and I'm like, hey, man, you need to go. Like, were you in this QT? And he's not making any sense whatsoever. And I was like, yeah, I'm not really going to deal with this conversation.
Were we standing in mud or grass or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I walked to QT. I get video. I'm like, hey, what happened? They're like, you got a bottle of water. Didn't pay for it. Not a big deal. It looks thirsty. We don't want to press charges. We just don't want him coming back to the store. I was like, okay. So you had gotten there, and I think right when I broke off to go talk to QT, I was like, hey, will you hang out with this guy and get a feel for him? And when I told you that, you knew, like, get a feel for him. Like, oh, there's something with this dude. Okay, let me hang with him. So when I walk back, you're giving me this look like, I can't believe you left me with this guy for 5 minutes. And so I'm explaining to the guy, all right, man, this criminal trespass warning. Like, I'm going to put your info on here. You're going to sign that you are well aware I can't go back to QT or I go to jail, right? And he's looking at me with this, like, 1,000-yard stare, and you're standing there kind of in an L shape. So if things do get squirrely, we can handle it. And he goes, do you think that keeps you safe? I was like, does what keep me safe? Like, I'm looking at my belt, like, looking at height, and I don't know, what are you talking about? He's like, that patch. I'm like, this patch? Like, the police patch? He was like, yeah. You think that keeps you safe? I was like, well, no, it's made of cloth. Like, it's just a patch. And he was like, yeah, I would be careful. Okay. Sign here, please. Sign. Guy bebops him to the woods or wherever. And you were like, I'm so glad you're not a normal officer. And I was like, what does that mean? He goes, I thought we were going to be fighting this dude in the mud. And I was like, yeah, I didn't take his mud. Because I think I told him, I was like, I'd be careful with that because that's kind of like a threat. Like, you're threatening me, and that's not good to do to cops. Like, that can get you in trouble, but I'm going to ignore it, and we're going to go on about our day. So,
also, I think there may have been like a lunchtime sometime around there where it was like, we needed to eat.
Yeah, yeah. I hadn't reached the hangry status where I was like, oh, I'm angry.
Yeah.
But, so, yeah, did that. Worked nights primarily, nights B. That was the shift to be on for the longest.
It was. I remember.
Disagree.
Yeah. No. Nice B was.
Tomato, potato.
Yeah.
So did that 5 years. Me and my wife had our second child when I was working nights. Then we had twins. Buy one, get one sale was taking place.
Ooh, Jesus.
So that got us to 4 kids. And at the time, I was still working nights because it kind of worked out.
I have 4 kids, and I'm sitting here shaking my head like,
yeah,
you poor man.
I mean, I guess if you did singles, like, it wouldn't be so bad. But when you got like 2 at the same time, like, that's rough.
I've done singles, and it sucks. In a lot of ways.
Try 2 at the same time.
Yeah,
double down.
No.
Yeah, double it
wasn't
down.
it the when you had them when you're on nights?
Oh, yeah. Because they were in bed, like, no problem. But you get home, you get to them when they're all kids are cute when they wake up, right? Because they're soft and cuddly. Hey, I love you, and I'm warm and cozy. And you're like, okay, have a good day at school, kid. Love you. Then you can sleep all day.
And then you wake up, leaving for work.
All right, I love you. See you later.
School.
Yeah,
you're like, yeah, good day, good luck, mom.
Had twins, and at one point, Alyssa was like, I can't do this. Like, you have got to go to days.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I'll make the jump. So about the 5.5 mark, I went to day shift. Days is cool. It's nice to be a normal member of society again and be out when the sun's out, right? It's a lot of paper. You're not getting the hot calls, the adrenaline pumping calls. They're there, but they're not as
many. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not as aggressive as they are on night shift.
Well, because a lot of times on days too, people have woken up and realized the crimes that have happened the previous night.
Yes.
So they're reporting all that, which.
Yeah, you get stuck on paper plus traffic on days. Getting in a pursuit on days is miserable. Like, it's pretty much non-existent.
30 miles an hour.
Nighttime, like, yeah, let's go. Like, there's nobody on the road. It's just me and this bad guy that's going to go to jail. Chases are fun. I've had lots of chases. Nothing that amounts to you and Dan's when y'all went all the way to Garland.
Oh, yeah.
And then back.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was a good one.
We had to get gas before we came back.
Yeah, because I think Garland pretty good because they thought he was going to go to the QT and, like, take a hostage or something, like, after this 40-minute chase. Yeah. And then when he was still moaning and complaining when he got to the jail about, y'all beat me up. We're like, no, that was Garland, not Grand Prairie. We didn't do that.
He didn't even do.
No, he was just mad that he had, like, my face got scraped because I got tackled because I was being dumb, so. Good chases, a lot of good chases. The best one I had on days was armed robbery at the Pizza Patron, like, right at shift change. Like, it was like 5:45. Like, I'm getting gas ready to go. Then this robbery comes out off Pizza Patron at Jefferson. And so I was like, I get dispatched. I'm like, all right, well, I'm not close-ish. So I was like, I'm not going to take 161 because that's not going to be the route these guys will take. Like that's too big, a main drag. They're going to kind of go back roads, right, to divert if cops are coming, which they should be. So I like to go up Carrier from Marshall. Mm-hmm. Well, as I'm hanging a left onto Carrier, they said, hey, it's a silver Dodge. One of the doors has damage to it, and they're, lo and behold, coming up to the light, it's a silver Dodge, I think Avenger or something, had damage to the driver's side door. And I was like, can the complainant advise what side this damage was on? They're like, yeah, they think it's on the driver's side. And I was like, that's got to be the car. So
that's one of those you're like, oh, hey, I was right. And then you're immediately like,
oh crap, I was right. Like, yeah, I got to do things right. Like these guys just robbed somebody at gunpoint. So I make a loop. They turn right on Marshall. We're pushing towards 161. I go ahead and say, hey, I think I got the car. I start to mark out on traffic. Monson at the time's pulling from 161 onto Marshall. So we're kind of hitting them head on. So I see the car. I go ahead and light them up. They stop for a split second. Chase is on.
Yeah.
Up 161, and I was like, oh, this is great. Like, these are armed robbery suspects. There's no way this is getting terminated. Like
that's true.
They're a danger to society. We got to take these guys out. Like, we got to catch them. Up 161 and 183, they end up exiting like Industrial Boulevard, and they smoke the back end of this truck. Wreck out. So I pull up. Luckily, there was I think a ULIS cop that was sitting like just conveniently. I mean, obviously we had radioed ahead to let other cities know what we're doing, but he's sitting in the vicinity. So when they wreck out, I get out, give clear and precise commands. Driver bails off, running to the left. I originally go to chase that guy. Well, I know that my backup unit, Monson, I see he's still driving, and I'm like, oh, well, you're in your car. I'll let you follow him. Mm-hmm. So I turn to assess the car, and there's a guy climbing out the back right window. That one's mine. I take off running after him. Well, we're now running through an intersection. So we went from like where the Texas turnaround is where they wreck out. Mm-hmm. So I'm on a curbed surface. Then we go down to base level for the street.
Oh, you fell, didn't you?
Oh, I ate it. Definitely like off the curb. And I was like, man, I feel good. Like I'm fresh. Adrenaline's pumping. I was like, I might be able to get close enough to tackle this dude instead of tasing him. And that's less paperwork I got to do for use of force. Well, right when I step off the curb, I was like, oh, that was a bad step. And I can just feel it. I was like, I'm going down. My legs are rubber. I'm eating it.
But
sure
enough, it's the chase and the
full
adrenaline.
sprint. I'm like leaning. I was like, this is going to hurt. I literally just like tucked my body and rolled, just scraped all the skin off my elbow. Get back up, chase him back around the building.
That's
Luckily,
funny.
he doubles back because the ULIS cop had kind of boxed him in and pushed him back to me. So we were able to get all three of them in custody. Took them for ag robbery. They ended up robbing I think they got like $300. It was unreal. I think it was probably a gang initiation of sorts because the driver and the back passenger were like in their 40s, documented gang members.
Yeah.
The guy in the front who had the gun under his seat and the money in his pocket, I think was like 22.
Oh,
So
man.
I guess this was probably his
Kinda
first
late
lick.
for a game.
Yeah.
Maybe his first lick to get in,
Yeah.
and it didn't go as planned. So,
Well, and
yeah,
now
some
he
good
has
stuff.
20 years to think about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
$300.
Absolutely. So
Okay, not 20 years.
Is that how long his probation is?
So did that, did patrol all in all 7 years. COVID was weird for like a lot of CID spots. It kind of got on hold. Letters came out for property and auto theft and a bunch of other units. And I've had aspirations of, hey, let me understand patrol. Let me figure out what patrol is. I want to be able to do push into black and white and answer all the calls for service and learn. I truly believe that in your first 2 years of policing, you may hit that 2-year mark. You're going to think that you're confident in knowing what you're doing. You think you are. You're not confident to vocalize that because you don't want to be wrong, so you just bite your tongue, but you think you're starting to understand. Then you hit the 4 to 5 year mark. Okay, I've got about 99% of these calls handled before I make scene. I know what I'm doing. I know what needs to be done. And when I'm calling somebody, say a sergeant or somebody on scene about stuff that needs to happen, I'm not calling and asking if I'm right. I'm calling and telling you what I'm going to do. I want to make sure I'm getting your blessing because this is the best course of action.
It's called transfer of liability.
It is. Yeah. At first, it's how do I do my job?
Right.
Yeah.
Then it's transfer of liability.
Yeah, it's like, hey, they pay you more than me. You
Yeah. So once I grasped that, felt I had a good understanding, I was ready to throw out CID options. And auto theft and property came up. I ended up reaching out to both the sergeants over the units. I was like, hey, I'm interested in CID as a whole. Do you have a problem with me putting in for both units?
Sure.
Obviously, some sergeants are wired differently, and they're like, no, you got to show who you want and
That's such
all your eggs in one basket.
That's such a good point because like that's a pet peeve of mine when people are like they want you to. It's almost like you've seen like the skits where people are walking in to be a barista or something like, why do you want to dedicate your life to the art of coffee? And they're like, I don't. This is a job. Like,
yeah, and I might get free coffee.
This. Yeah, I want to do this. Same thing with CID or anything else. So like, why is a family violence detective the most important thing in the world to you? And it's like, you might not think it is. You might have an interest in being an investigator as a whole.
Right.
And I think that mentality is so stupid.
Yeah, and luckily they were both on board. Like, no, I mean, CID is CID. You know, we'll sit in and have an interview. So I had an interview with both of them at the same time. I think I don't even know where I was on the list for property. I was third out of, I think, like 10 or 11 on the list for auto theft. Cool. Dan ended up getting selected as number one. So that was July, I think it was, of, we're in 24, July 22 is when he went up. Marcos was number two. There was a child crime spot that came up that he kind of had to drive and had a passion for. So he put in for that, got selected for that. I was like, ooh, I'm next up on the list. Well, Fletcher was still here, so the unit was full.
I think you were going to say city manager died. Came over and was like, no.
Luckily, Fletcher ended up retiring, so there was that spot available. So I needed dominoes to kind of fall in my favor, which they did, and I got pushed up December of 22. Yeah, so almost year and a half. Been doing the auto theft thing. It's a blast. Definitely happy with that choice of plain clothes and being able to do kind of best of both worlds. There is casework and desk work that you have to do, but there's a lot of field work that has to be done and getting dirty and digging into cars and stuff like that. So,
are you on call?
Yes and no. So we have a bait car program where we have cars that obviously have cameras and trackers and stuff that we'll deploy, and we hope that somebody will take it, right? Because we want to catch these car thieves to hold them accountable. So yes, there is an on-call status, like when those are deployed. If there's an activation, then we all respond to then take over the case and work it from there. We primarily rely on patrol to assist us in that, but we're giving continual updates where the car is, what we can tell on video, what the suspects look like, maybe what they showed up in. So we rely on them to stop them, and then we, like I said, come in and clean it up, and we'll take the case over from there. So in a nutshell, that's my law enforcement, the 12 years with the city. So I always say I did the 3-year incarceration. Then I got out. Then I had a changing heart and wanted to clean the city. Did that for 7, and now I'm trying to figure out the back end of policing of how do you get these, guys that prey on innocent people to prison. So I think that's kind of the whole gauntlet of policing. I mean, at some point I'd love to promote to sergeant. I'm not doing that anytime soon. My track record that I've kind of kept was I wanted to do 5 in patrol, get a grasp. I'd like to do 5, if not more, in CID, get a grasp, be confident. That way when the time comes and I'm ready in life and everything irons out where the kids are at and what's going on, then when I have the stripes, okay, I have a broad understanding of what's truly, is the juice worth the squeeze for when you have those calls, instead of just, nope, bad guy go to jail, bad guy go to jail, and that's all you know from patrol versus, I don't know if these cases are getting filed. I don't know what I'm missing. What did I get that wasn't important? What did I not get that wasn't less important?
There's a lot of really well-intentioned, like I'll hear patrol guys refer to, we put this case on them, or we seized this, and it's like,
yeah, no, you didn't. It got suspended.
Yeah, I understand that you intended to, and I love the effort. I love the intention, and if the county went by the penal code and if everything worked out perfectly, 100%,
absolutely,
completely get where you're coming from. I'm glad you did what you did, but the actuality of the way things worked out is just not. Even with the way I do my job, sometimes I'll put a case together that I'm like, hey, this is the charge, and then I'll get a notification from the county, and they're like, oh, we changed the charge.
Yeah.
Like, why? And I don't know how many emails I sent where I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Like, I had this perfectly, everything, all the ducks in a row.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, it's prosecutorial discretion.
Yeah. Or you have to call victims back and say, hey, I know we found your car and we held somebody accountable because they wrecked it and everything else, and I filed charges with county and they're not taking it.
Yeah.
The victim's like, what do you mean they're not taking it? I'm like, they have the option to take it or not take it. I think we've met the elements of the offense You did your job, you reported. I did my job and investigated it and compiled it in a nice, neat package that says, hey, here's what you did that was illegal, here's how you did it, and the county goes, meh.
Yeah.
So it happens. It's frustrating. I don't let that get to me, though. I mean, when I was putting people in jail, when I was working the streets, I never followed up with the guys that I put in jail. Like, I did my job for that day for what it was. I took bad guy to jail for
I had
said
no
reason.
problem with that on the street. The past couple of years where I'm at now, it's gotten to me a little bit.
You win some, you lose some. You know, I rest assured knowing that I did my job and I did it well. What people beyond me do, I can't control that.
Control
so
it.
There's no point in losing, sleep over that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like I said, that's my life of Grand Prairie. Prior to that, I mean, I'm born and raised Grand Prairie.
Yeah.
Everybody jokes that, if you drink Grand Prairie tap water, it's coming from Joe Pool. So I've been drinking Joe Pool lake
That's
water
what's wrong
for
with you.
36 years.
No. How did you go 7-Eleven? How'd you work for 7-Eleven?
Yeah, for 3 years. GSW and 20.
Really?
Yeah. Not the newer one that's on the north side. The
the one on the south side.
massive, larger one. Yeah. Yeah. In the Kroger parking lot.
How was that?
It was an experience.
He's got a straight face to it. I
It was
can't
an experience.
keep it.
I mean, it was a good time for where I was at in my life. I would say every job I've had or held,
Yeah.
where I was at in my life, that was the best thing I could have had.
Yeah.
At the time. That there was only one job that I absolutely was like, I got to get out of here. I was working for a temp service.
Oh, okay.
Which it was, temp services are such a head ache in general, just because your employer is the temp service.
Okay.
And they're
Yeah.
trying to find you jobs that fit your parameters or whatever. But it was like every time they found you a job, it's an alliance paying $10 an hour. I'm like, my whole paycheck goes to the gas to get to Alliance. Like, I don't want
Yeah.
that job.
Thanks. I can do that myself.
I ended up getting a job at Trinity and Beltline. I think it's a Penske truck place now. Well, it used to be Pepsi Cola. And they had both warehouses on both sides of the floor. So the north warehouse was all Gatorade products, your liquids. South warehouse was all your like Quaker foods and stuff like that. Again, temp service, they were sitting down forklifts, but the way they ran their warehouse was weird. So you would literally log into the computer. You'd go to the shipping or receiving door to get your bill of lading for if you were loading or unloading a trailer. Well, then you had to go to the trailer, scan the door so they knew that you were at the door. Then you had to inspect the trailer, then scan a different barcode to validate that, yes, I'm going to accept this trailer for a load. You're checking it for holes, cracks, make sure the trailer's serviceable. Then it's telling you where to go in the warehouse to pick up these pallets. So you're picking, putting stuff up. Well, now I'm out of propane. Well, I got to drive to the other side of the warehouse to go get a new propane tank, but I'm off my forklift. I need you to take this clipboard and log why you're not working right now. Getting propane, put a timestamp, then go back to work. Oh, it's break time, or I have to use the bathroom. You better tell me why you're not on your forklift. Had to 10 minutes. It was terrible. I hated it.
I'm sending pictures.
Yeah, it was rough. There was one day I was working.
Just drawing a turd.
Yeah, here.
I'm flying down one of the aisles to get to another side of the warehouse, and I cut a corner too short, and I end up hitting one of the support posts for these racks. I mean, and they've got like 6-inch anchor bolts into the concrete, and I bent it to snot. Like my forklift goes spinning and stuff, and I look back, and the thing's bent at a 90. There's concrete and screws lying around, and I was like, well, the racks didn't fall over. So I walk over, I find a broom.
I'm going home.
I sweep everything in a nice, neat pile. And again, like, I don't really like this job. I'm not having a good time. I didn't tell anybody that I hit the thing. I just kind of went about my day. Like, I didn't log, hit, pull for 2 minutes and swept. Like, I didn't put that on my sheet, right?
Yeah, you should have.
So, learning lesson. So I go to home for the night. I come in the next day, and the guy that I'd been there like 2 months. And again, I'm not a full-time employee. I'm just a temporary guy for them to get through the busy system. And he goes, hey, did something happen yesterday? I'm like, no, I mean, that was a regular day. Like, I don't really know. He's like, did you hit something with a forklift? I was like, oh, that. Yeah, but I mean, I swept it in a pile. And he was like, no, I mean, that's cool. Like, we appreciate that. But you didn't tell anybody you did that. And I was like, yeah, I didn't know who to tell, who I should have told. He's like, well, we're going to have to let you go. And I was like, that's fine. I don't like this job.
Yeah, like, you're not my real guy anymore.
I'm not having a good time with this. I'm going to take my ball and go home now. I don't want to play this game anymore. But no, every job I've had since then. So the way I got to 7-Eleven, I was trying the college thing after high school. Went to Bowie High School in Arlington. A lot of people give me a weird face. I'm like, wait, you raised in Grand Prairie, but you went to Arlington schools. And then on the streets, everybody, like, Bowie has a good reputation and a bad reputation. Everybody's like, oh, you went to Bowie? Like, oh, I arrested people that went to Bowie. I'm like, Bowie was very well cultured. It was a diverse community of high school populace. That's where I give all my credit to my street cred and knowing certain things. But I'm trying the college route. I go out of state for college for a while in Arkansas, like 45 minutes north of Little Rock. So, Harding University, it was a private Christian school I'd followed at the time. A girlfriend of mine I was dating. Never been to the school, have no idea where the school's at, but she's going, so I'm going to go. We might have dated for like, I don't know, we dated for like 3 months after we got there, and then it just tanked. And I was like, well, I'm here now. College, I had more interest in hanging out with buddies in the dorm room, playing video games all night, eating ramen than doing actual school work. Because when I went to college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was just going. I mean, my
dad. I was going to ask you because you talked about applying to so many different departments.
Yeah,
when like law enforcement was like a always a
no. It was. I mean, I grew up normal. My dad was a school teacher.
Normal.
No, yeah, I grew up normal. My dad was a school teacher for a while growing up. He was at Truman Middle School, and then he was at Adams. He ended up getting, I don't know, like his master's or something to to get into administration. So he was assistant principal at Adams. Then he was at Grand Prairie High for a while, and then he finally went to Martin in Arlington. My mom worked for the water department for 30 years or so in the city of Grand Prairie. So, I mean, my grandparents live in Grand Prairie. One's in 14 beat, one's in 12 beat. I mean, I'm Grand Prairie through and through. So, again, tried the college thing, went out to state. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was just going. And a lot of guys that were in my hallway were taking criminal justice classes. And they were talking about all the wild videos they're watching. And I was like, that sounds cool. I want to watch videos. So I signed up for this intro to criminal justice, right?
It's the videos for me.
My kids, like, I want screen time.
Yeah, the gruesome stuff, like, don't watch, but I have to click it. I want to watch it. And I signed up for that. I'm taking the course, and I'm like, man, this is kind of interesting. Like, if most people would say why they got into policing, like, I want to take care of the community, and I want to be a good role model, like, that, yes, that's there.
You
that's
just wanted screen time.
Well, not only that, like, you look at old pictures, like, look at the ones on the wall. Like, you look at those guys and you're like, man, they look kind of cool. Get to carry a gun on their hip all day, drive fast, use their lights, chase people. Like, that's fun. That's exciting. I want to do that.
Sure.
So I'm enjoying the time in taking those criminal justice courses, and I get a phone call from a girl I dated like years prior. Like, we hadn't talked in years. And she was like, hey, did you hear about so-and-so? And it was Melanie Goodwin. It was a girl that we went to high school with. She was in theater. She was one of those people who walked into a room, immediately your day turned upside down. Like, you could be having the worst day, and she's going to put a smile on your face. Just a soft-hearted individual. And I was like, no, like, I don't know what you're talking about. And she was like, well, she was killed last night. I was like, really? So I started digging into it, and Melanie, she had an older brother. Her older brother, when I was in high school, was I forget what they call him. Like, when you're a freshman in high school and he's a senior, he's like your, like, band dad or band buddy. Like, he's supposed to guide you through what.
Say bully.
No, like big brother kind of thing. Well, her older brother was my big brother, and we played the same instrument, played saxophone, bari sax. So I had an attachment to that family for Melanie. So I started looking into it, and she at the time was going to UNT in Denton. She was a Red Bull girl, so she was like GameStop like all night on like a midnight release. Yeah. So she's like handing out free samples of Red Bull and stuff. And again, super attractive girl. Well, she ends up getting off, goes to a QT, and she calls at her time. Her boyfriend was like, hey, I'm getting gas. Do you need anything? I'll be home, 10, 15 minutes. It's like, nah, I don't know, bag of hot Cheetos or whatever. Well, there's a gentleman standing outside the store, and he asked her, like, hey, do you have any gas money? She's like, I don't. I'm sorry. I put, what I had left on the tank. He was like, okay, no problem. Well, as she proceeds to come out back to the car, she's getting in the car, filling gas. That gentleman elects to hit her over the head, do something, knocks her unconscious, puts her in her car. He fills up the car with what gas he has, fills up his gas can, then gets in her car, and they drive off. It's later learned that he ends up stopping at like a friend's house and was like, hey, I think I messed up. I think I made a mistake. I might have killed this girl. I need help. And that guy was like, dude, I want nothing to do with this. Like, bye. He finds a warehouse somewhere in Denton, goes to the backside, pulls her out. She's still unconscious, douses her with that gasoline and lights her on fire and burns her alive in the back of this warehouse. To my knowledge, she was identified through dental records. Mm-hmm. So, and that, to be said, because of that attachment to the family, that just drove my passion of, yeah, that's not okay. Mm-hmm. Like, I want to try to be the guy that takes down these guys that do this. Because I think when he ended up fleeing to Mexico, and I want to say that Mexico wouldn't release him unless we agreed that we wouldn't give him the death penalty. So
what?
It was something weird like that. So they agreed, they released, because he was a Mexican citizen, so they released him to our custody, and he ended up getting life without the possibility of parole. And for a while that bugged me.
Yeah.
Because I was like, yeah, no, like eye for an eye kind of thing. But then I thought about it, I was like, no, I'm good with that. I hope he lives till he's 110, and he gets to think about how he wound up in the position he's in for the rest of his life.
We'll slip his cellmate a few dollars.
Yeah, but that's... Yeah, so I didn't, like I said, didn't have a drive. Policing wasn't really a thing. I mean, I was always like, yeah, those look cool. They drive fast. Like, that's awesome. But it was starting to take criminal justice classes just because I wanted to watch the gruesome videos and have fun. And then getting that call and following that trial and seeing what it was of just the anger that was in me of, like, that, like, mind-boggling.
Yeah.
That's
well,
what...
at that age, too.
Yeah.
And if you don't have an exposure to that type of environment.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that.
That's something that happens to people on TV. It happens to things
it's in the
you
movies.
hear about.
Yes.
Yeah,
and it's not like, real life.
Yeah.
And it was real life. And that's what drove my passion to wanting to do this. So, yeah, I'm testing with every agency I can. Like, I want to go. And luckily, I had obviously ties to Grand Prairie. I'm born and raised. I want to take her to the same streets that I'm raised in. You know, all my friends and family. I mean, me and Eric went to school together, grew up together, graduated together from Bowie.
Wow, Eric?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, I had an invested interest with the city. So, get through college, don't get a degree, ended up getting kicked out of the Christian college, and then came home, was going to TCC and UTA.
Did this involve Natty Light?
I think it was Bud Light.
Oh, okay.
Wasn't Natty Light. I hadn't made the switch yet. Private Christian school, like Jesus turned water into wine, but you can't have beer even though you're of age at a Christian campus. Like, that's not allowed, right? Can't do that. And apparently you sign somewhere in a waiver, like in the dormitory, like your dorm mom or the family that lives there, like they, if need to, they can enter your room for whatever reason. So Christmas, this is probably my third year in college.
You had 3 years?
Yeah.
God.
I think I have 5 years in total, and I don't have a degree. You don't need a degree. Okay, degree. D's are for degrees, but sometimes you have people with degrees that don't have common sense or street smarts. So just throwing that out there. Don't have to have one, but it looks good on a wall.
It's called justification.
It was like, yeah, it's whatever.
So going through the course, Christmas break, there's a fridge. Somebody sets it out to like defrost or whatever. We get back from Christmas break, and it's still sitting in the hallway like a month later. And I was like, man, is this trash? Like, we're on the third floor of the dorm. I was like, maybe they didn't carry it down.
Sure.
So I was like, I'm going to take it. So I pick it up. I was like, I'm going to plug it in and see if it works first because I don't have a fridge. It works, no problem. I was like, oh, mine now. Like, abandoned property. It's been out here for a month in the hallway. Nobody's used it. Nobody's touched it. I'll just take it. 2 months down the line, somehow the word starts spreading of this fridge being MIA. And I guess they led to my room. And the dorm mom goes in, opens the door, and there's 6 Bud Lights sitting in the fridge. Again, I knew the rules. Like, you're not supposed to have them, but I'm 21. I'm of age. Sometimes rules are set to be broken, right? So I'm breaking that rule. So we go to intramural softball. We win. We come back, and the dorm mom's there, and she goes, "Hey," and I was like, "Hey, what's up?" And she's like, "Yeah, I need to. Whose fridge is this that's in here?" And I was like, "Which one?" She was like, "The black one." I was like, "Well," and I gave her the story like it was in the hall. I took it. She was like, "Okay, yeah, I need to get the fridge back." I was like, "Yeah, no, that's no problem. Like, they want it back, they can have it back. No harm feel." She's like, "However, whose beers are those?"
Obviously, the people's who had the fridge kicked them out.
But I was being a good servant of the Lord and was like, I got to come clean. Like those are mine because obviously I have a roommate that I grew up with and went to church with growing up. It's like I can't put that on him because I know what's coming. There's only 2 options at that university if you're caught with alcohol: you get expelled and you go home, or you come to the deans and say, I have a problem with alcohol, and they will enroll you in AA.
Nah.
Those were the only 2 options. So I was like, yeah, those are mine.
Or you could blame the people who had the
put
fridge
the fridge
out.
Yeah.
Had left the beers in it.
Yeah.
I wish that was the case. But I owned up to it. I ended up meeting with the dean like at midnight, like in the dorm mom's room, and he's like questioning me about stuff. It was definitely like a mental health evaluation. And I don't have a filter. Like I call it like I see it. I was like,
You're like, also, I was hammered.
yeah. Well, I was like, Dean, like I'm fine. Like I'm not going to do anything drastic. I get it. Like I already know what's coming. I'm going to meet tomorrow. We're going to call my parents. I'm going to go home like a month and a half early, get no credit for the semester. I get it, but I promise I'm not going to go kill myself. And he was like, well, that's not what I mean. And I was like, that's exactly why you're here. Like, you want to make sure I'm in a good headspace
Alcohol is
to
bad.
capture, what's taking place.
Holy crap.
Yeah, so that's how Arkansas went. I had to call my dad. My dad was paying for my college at the time. It was like $9,000 a semester. Like, that was just all down the drain. So I come back home, have to deliver the news while I'm home so early. My grandmother gave me a great piece of advice. She goes, everybody has a skeleton in their closet. Every living soul does.
And if yours is a six-pack of Bud Light,
well, and she said the difference.
You're doing good.
yeah.
The difference of a boy and a man is everybody has skeletons. But as long as when you need to, you can pull that skeleton out of the closet and discuss and then put it back where it belongs and leave it alone,
Yeah.
you'll be okay. She goes, this will be one of your skeletons. She goes, at some point you'll laugh about it. But right now, it's a problem, right? This is what the forefront is because you just cost your dad $9,000.
Yeah.
And you're home. So worked through that. Went to TCC, UTA, same transgressions, I guess, continued.
So you did have a drinking problem.
Ding, 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 ding.
I enjoy alcoholic beverages. I would say I have a problem. Grades continue
your
to
wife
just.
Winners.
I have heard her yell plenty of times. You don't need that, when she hears a can crack. But I go to TCC, UTA. Grades are continued. Like I just have no interest in school whatsoever. College was not for me. So I get like academically suspended from both of them. My dad's like, you need to find a job.
Yeah.
Because if you're gonna live
Being
my
smart's
roof,
not for you.
if you're gonna live under my roof, like one of two things: either you're going to school and you can continue to live here, or you go get your own job and you find your own place to live. And we're at that point. So I'm doing the temp service, and I'm like, I hate this. And 7-Eleven, I had reached out to the 7-Eleven because the franchisee's wife was the principal at my dad's school, or worked with my dad. So I had kind of a tie into that 7-Eleven. And I had interviewed with him once or twice. I was like, man, I'm not trying to work weekends. Like 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. weekends, like I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to go out with my friends, party, have a good time. I finally, 6 months down the road, I was like, yeah, nothing's making ends meet. I'm not finding any good jobs. Like, I'll just work at 7-Eleven. It's money. It is what it is. And I'll try to, at the time I was still trying to go to school, right, and make that work. It wasn't cutting it. But the plus to working at 7-Eleven is there were so many guys on patrol that would come through. So I got to know, like Chris, Scott, Rayford Starr, Lieutenant Dixon, like Tedonio, always were coming in and stuff. And you hear it, like I see it now as a cop. Like you come in and talk to a clerk, and they're like, yeah, I want to be a cop. I'm like, yeah, sure, good luck. Like, no, you don't. Like, you look like a goober. It's not going to happen. So I get it. But they would always come to check in. So when I started telling them, hey, I was applying with different agencies, they'd pop in and, hey, man, how you doing? Hey, how's it going and stuff. So it was cool to see that they had a little bit of an invested interest of care in what I became. So Tedonio, I think, still to this day is like, you're my favorite success story. Like, you were just some random kid selling stuff. I was like, I want to be a cop. And you did what you said you were going to do. Yeah. But that's how I went up at 7-Eleven, was just I needed a job. And that was the job. Oh, thank heaven.
Beer money.
Yeah.
Beer money.
Yeah. But I got a real boy job and matured and developed, made a family, and everything.
He's all grown up now.
That's the big thing, man. Is people like you said, you kind of get typecast whenever you don't fit that mold of, like you said, you're not built for college. Like it's just not an interest. And I'm the same way. Intellectually, I have absolutely capable of getting a degree. Yeah, 100%. I had no interest in it. It's just not. So the fact that you're able to go, like this isn't for me. You hit a couple bumps or whatever, and you don't let that just completely, put you in a category. You're able to kind of to say, okay, cool, messed up.
They're all.
Let's move on and fix it.
Everybody has bumps in their life.
Yeah.
It's how do you adjust? How do you learn from those and get better? Everybody has them, and those were growing up as things would come up. It's like, oh, this is terrible right now. Yeah, it'll get better.
Well, and two, the ability to look back, like the way you're talking about the getting, I don't know if you consider kicked out of school,
expelled, kicked out.
Okay, that whole stuff. Obviously, like the way you're explaining it. it's this huge deal. You know, your dad's out money. It's obviously
It's the only reason I play lotto. Is that if I win, I can pay him back that money.
Right. Yeah, so at the time, you can tell like that's such a big deal. But like from our seats right now, we're laughing about it because it's like you're a 6-pack of beer.
That's minuscule.
Yeah, it's insane, and so many of the issues that we come across, and a lot of young guys come across, are a result of these rules that probably shouldn't exist to begin with, and just the self-contained environment winds up creating these issues for you. If you just take a step back and realize, hey, maybe I messed up by not adhering to this person's rule or whatever, and just move on and continue to do better instead of saying, oh, hey, I'm just a person who can't abide by rules now. You can absolutely be successful.
Well,
that's my
So,
soapbox.
4 kids at the house?
yeah. 11, 5, and 3.
Y'all have internet?
Yeah. Watch a lot of Bluey.
Not enough.
It's a good show. It's a good show, though.
Obviously getting bored at some point.
Yeah, Bluey's a good show. Not a fan of the Cocomelon.
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 I don't know that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't care for it.
See, I stopped at SpongeBob, so I don't know.
Yes.
I feel like SpongeBob's a little raunchy.
It is.
Raunchy.
So yeah,
Patrick
it
is
can
off
be.
the chain.
But like when I was growing up, like I wasn't allowed to watch The Simpsons.
Me either.
Like Beavis and Butthead, that was a no.
Yep.
What?
Like Rocko's Modern Life was kind of as far as you could get.
Don't know what that is.
Yeah.
I grew up not hyper. I grew up
But
pretty
again,
sheltered.
born in '88, I got the best of both worlds. Like my childhood was playing outdoors, riding bikes, playing in the creek. You know, GSW. Before you get to Lake Ridge, that bridge over the whatever the trail is on GSW south of Claremont Fairmont. Because I grew up off of Hamilton. Man, if anybody ever ran in those woods, I'm like, I know where the trails are. You can get in through this tree by the third oak. Like that's where I played. But internet and phones and all that stuff, didn't transpire until I was in junior high.
Yeah.
I don't even think I had a smartphone until I got hired by the department.
Oh, dude.
I still had a flip phone.
I had a flip phone until the
Motorola
only reason I got a
Razr.
smartphone was because I was sitting in bed one night with my wife, and this is like
T9
2012 or 13, and she's on an iPhone or something, and she's on Twitter and just scrolling, doing what we all do now. They call it doom scrolling, and I'm bored. I'm just like, dude, you're not talking to me. Like, well, what the hell? And I was like, I'll go get a phone too.
Yeah, I wish I could go back to a flip phone. To be honest,
You can.
Oh,
you can
dude.
find them.
I've already decided. Like my
Yeah.
kids, like when it's phone time, like yeah, you can have the flip phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, you ain't getting that.
Or that
I'd-
not the flip phone, just that regular phone where the whole screen is like green.
Yeah,
It was
there's
a
like 4
Nokia.
buttons. You
Yeah,
just set
yeah.
like 4.
Yeah, Nokia.
Dude, I
Four
had a
speed
block
dial numbers and
Nokia
that's it.
in college.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to throw it on the ground and explode and be like, dude, guys, check this out. Put it back together and it still works.
Yeah, I'm not. I just saw a post or something or an article the other day. It said, when you're ready for your children's childhood to be over, give them a smartphone.
Yeah, no.
And I think about that with like the tablets, like the iPads and stuff. Gavin's 5. He started kindergarten this year. He's got an iPad.
That's fine.
What do
and
you
better
need an
keep up with
iPad
it.
for?
Yeah, and you better keep up with it.
Dude,
'cause
You
it's
have
such
no
a-
need for that.
And it's
Yeah.
such a pain too, because like I want to be empathetic because like growing up, I love video games. I still love video games if I
Agreed.
had more time to play.
Agreed.
4
Four
me and
kids.
you used to play when on that shift.
Yep.
But so I empathize with their attraction to that. My,
Yes.
You know, two of my boys are 10 and 8, so like they want to do it. Yeah, so I try to give them some of that screen time as a reward when behavior and their
Right.
conduct has warranted it. But dude, it's exhausting to have to constantly be paying attention. Like
Yep.
there's certain games that you can only play on
Yes.
the TV in the living room because there's potential for peer-to-peer chat. And I just want to keep an eye on what's going
See, and
on.
I've-
And our YouTube,
we have
dude, some
not
of these
dabbled in
YouTube,
that.
some of this YouTube crap is sneaky. Like
I've already
there's-
told Gavin. I know when he's on YouTube. I'm like, get off of YouTube.
See, I don't
you
mind
can do
it.
the
I just,
school
it's
stuff.
got to be
get
where
off
I
of
can
the
hear
YouTube.
it because I'll hear comments every now and again.
Yeah.
And
It's like grown men acting
Dude,
like
there's
they're
like-
12.
Yeah.
dude,
I don't
there's
understand.
there's little or there's like little innuendos and jokes that
Yes.
are really pushing the line. I'm like, nah, we're not
Yeah,
there.
we've gotten to the point now, like with Gavin, like if he gets all the smiley faces throughout the week, like his behavior, like some of the stuff that he gets tattled on, I'm mind blown. Like,
Dude.
he poked somebody with his finger. Like, I'm not talking to my kid about that. Is he biting people? Is he fighting people? Like, I'll take care of that. But the kid stuff, like, I don't need to know about that. Like, turn that frown upside
My
down.
kid
And give
got
my kid
written
a
up
smiley
for
face. Like,
asking the class if the cheerleaders were hot, if they thought cheerleaders were hot, which had he not stood up and asked the entire class,
Yeah,
probably wouldn't have
okay.
been a big of a deal.
You're
But,
like, come here, boy. Let me talk to you. That's okay.
Yeah.
You just can't ask.
just
Just
ask one person.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Don't do that
so
again.
Speaking
generally,
of that, the other thing that got me on the YouTube videos, I was watching and they were doing something, and the way one of the girls on there was dressed, I don't know, it's just a little bit suggestive, and you could tell she's much older than what they were trying to
Right.
portray her to be. I was like, something's off about this, and I was like, hey, who is that? He told me. I looked up her Instagram. I was like, no.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna know where all these videos are gonna go, but I know
Yeah.
like, follow, but no.
yeah, and generally, like I said, the drive to the video games, like there's games on there where it's like you got to do a math equation, and then I get to move this guy or jump or capture something. Like I'm cool with that. So
Yeah.
if he has a good week at school, we've made an agreement. Like, hey, I'll give you a couple hours on Saturday. You can have your iPad to play games. But like I'll come home Monday because I'll pick him up. We'll get to the house and he's just sitting there staring at the iPad. I'm like, is it Saturday?
Right.
No. Then why are you on the iPad? Put it up. Go watch TV. Go play. Like you can stare at some other screen, but not that.
Yeah.
You know. So I think that is a drive as young kids. They wanted. It's interested. We got interested.
It's a drive
That's
for
what
me.
we got
I
attached to.
still buy games that I know I'm not going to play. I bought the
Right.
new. It's like $120 on a special edition of the new MLB The Show.
Yeah, I, hadn't done
I have
anything with
played
that.
0 innings.
Yeah.
My boys played the crap out of it. They love it.
Yeah, I'm not ready to open that gauntlet with
The
G-
PlayStation?
Yeah, the Xbox and the PlayStation.
Oh, it's so much better than iPads, dude.
Oh yeah, but
I would
again,
do the
again, he's
consoles over
5.
iPads. Dude, I was playing GTA with
No.
my kids at 5. It's a
playing-
blast.
No,
There's nothing
I
better
was playing
than.
with Lincoln Logs.
We'll talk later.
Yeah,
Consoles are good.
just watch them.
iPads are bad.
Because I do know that those are like 18-year-old kids acting like they're 12, so that the
Yeah.
young crowd will watch them, follow them, so they make
Yeah,
more
they're
money.
doing dumb
There's
stuff.
There's
Yeah.
a creepy aspect to it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's weird.
So-
I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah.
And I love my mother-in-law, if she's listening. She bought the twins like tablets or something. I was like, they're 2.
Yeah.
They don't even. I need them to learn to read and write first. they've been sitting in a cabinet since Christmas. Like, yeah, we'll re-gift that when they're 7.
yeah,
So
that's funny. Well,
I would go a little bit longer because they always edit some stuff off the top. Your wife. You're married. Actually, I'm supposed to be getting a case to your wife right now. So it's your fault that's not happening.
I mean, I should be doing the same in case I need to file.
Yeah, she texted me. She's like, "Hey, somebody got an email about this case. Why isn't it done?" I was like, "Ooh,
I'll take care of that
I'll
after
get on that."
10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually said I'd have it done by 9. So, yeah.
you take her cases too?
She used to. Now there's conflict of interest, obviously. So the other girls file my
Oh,
cases. She probably handles, for the most part, just the narcotic stuff.
Oh, I bet she's like, you ain't doing your work.
What's that like being married to somebody that you sure don't have to work at the same place?
I mean, luckily we like and love each other, so that's a plus.
That helps.
When I was in to jail, she worked in property and evidence. So occasionally, obviously, people get out of jail. They need to go know where their property is. So we talked time and two there. I tried to show some interest then. She wasn't having it. And then got as an officer. Things started happening. We started dating. I always
Got a
give her a joke
raise.
like, "Oh, you only want me for my money and my real badge,
Yep.
like not this stitch badge that's on my shirt."
Hello.
Yeah, she transferred out of property and evidence to where she's at now, case processing. She's been, I mean, she enjoys it. She likes what she does, so it's not bad. When I was on the streets, I never saw her. You know, she worked in the building, and I'm out running and gunning and chasing things down. Especially when I was working nights, like she worked during the day, I worked at night, which I was rough because you never saw each other.
Yeah.
But it was like you got enough time away from each other, so the 3 or 4 days you did get to see each other, it was
You
like,
love
oh,
each
I
other.
love you. I
Yeah.
haven't seen you in a couple days. When I went to days, it was
Like, right when you're getting ready to go back to work.
Yeah,
they
like
say
when you
something,
have
you're
babies.
like, "Why are you saying that?"
Like when
Why
you
are
had the
chewing so
kids
loud?
and you're off for 3 months. I think we hit like 6 weeks. She was like, "I think it's time for you to go back to work." I was like, "I think it's time for me to go back to work." But now working on the same floor, like, no, it is what it is. I'm accustomed to it. So
Yeah. Do y'all ride together?
no, take separate cars. Like I said, 6 kids. I could take home, luckily, with auto theft. But even when I wasn't, like, I don't have enough room in a Chevy Silverado for 4 car seats.
Yeah.
So Alyssa generally has
Gee,
the car seats.
I
She's
can't
got the
even imagine.
twins. I'll pick up the bigs. So, I mean, we make it work. But, yeah, we generally got to take 2 cars everywhere. I told her at some point she's going to have to get used to be in a bigger vehicle. She'll be in a Suburban or something. Or
I
one of
was
those, like,
about to say.
15-passenger vans. We'll just take some seats out.
Yeah.
She's not a van lady, though. She wants nothing to do with a van. And I was like, you were sadly mistaken. Like, we drove a hybrid Toyota Sienna or something when we were in California for recruiting.
Dude. Yeah.
We got this is the nicest car I've ever seen in my life. Who cares if it looks like a van? Like, this thing's sweet.
And and my wife is the same way. It's like you're in your mid 30s. You've
Just
got 4
accept it.
kids. You're off the market.
Yeah.
It's okay. Even
that.
if Aaron deuced out tomorrow,
Right.
you're off the market.
Yeah, I've already
It's
paid.
okay.
I've paid for you in
Accept your
full,
fate.
so let's just continue.
Yeah, take your mini. That's what I told Dimitri. I was like, who are you trying to impress?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going home with you.
Like,
Either
I
way,
will
I
still
don't
be
care what car you
attracted to
drive.
you even if you drive a van. I'll even pay for the van. Like,
If I can watch you roll up to baseball practice, hit a couple buttons, everybody hops out and takes off, and you're heading home, that's sexy.
because I even purposely sat in the back as a grown man. Like, I have leg room back here. This is nice. My kids are a fourth the size of me. And I was like, vans, no.
That's awesome.
So we'll get there. We're in the house market right now shopping, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You ready to pay those big sticker prices?
No. Yeah, I got to sell mine to buy one.
Yeah, it's
So that's what we're doing. But it's not bad. We'll see what irons out. It's only been on the market for like 2 days.
Yeah.
So,
I'll give it time.
Where y'all looking?
well, Midlow, Waxahachie, that area.
Okay. Love Waxahachie.
We're in Midlow. We actually found the house we put an offer on is in Waxahachie. I think it's a Waxahachie address, but Ellis County jurisdiction with Midlow schools on like an acre. So it's like, oh, that's nice. And it's like 9 minutes down the road.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're moving far.
Right.
Just everybody currently has a roommate in a 3-bed, 2.5, which I get. I mean, I would have loved a 5-bedroom, but I mean, everything's like $500,000.
Yes.
$500,000.
Mm-hmm.
So 4-bed's a little more manageable. 5-bed would be great because obviously then the twins can share a room.
Yeah.
Like just because they were womb mates doesn't mean they have to be roommates forever.
See what you did there, Dad?
But
I like it.
dad joke. But
But turn the study into a room.
yeah, I mean there's
turn a room into a
there's a
study.
dining room. I could wall the dining room off that's
There
at the
you
new
go.
house if I needed to. If it came to that point, 10 years down the road while they're screaming at each other, River did this, Ruby did this. So
Have fun with that.
yeah, adulting.
If you
It'd
need
be
help
fun, they
moving,
said.
I'll refer a few companies to you. 'Cause I ain't
Yeah, I think I'm motivated to box everything and label it. Like I'll do the boxes, but all this heavy stuff,
Yeah.
the couches and the furniture that I fought to get in that house, like I'm gonna pay somebody to move that.
Yeah.
My safe, I'm not moving that.
Yeah.
Like nobody wants in mid-30s to 40s. Nobody is being paid off with a case of beer and 2 large pizzas to help you move anymore.
Yep. Nope.
What kind of beer?
I mean, unless you're in the market, maybe I was wrong.
Well, we're gonna have to wrap up. Always like to ask though, any advice you have for people who are considering the profession?
I mean, I'm living testament. If you think you're in a position to where you want to do police work, but you just don't know how to get there, and that's your passion, just stick with it. If it's meant to be, it'll work itself out. It'll happen. If you don't know if policing's for you and you want to give corrections a shot, do it. Go work in the jail. I give a lot of my gift of gab testament that I learned down there for 3 years. Because I mean, it's the bad guy that's getting arrested and going to jail is the same bad guy once the cuffs come off and he's going to court and getting arraigned. But you don't have the firearms. You have your mouth. That's what you can diffuse a lot of things with that and just using your words. Because a lot of times I think the reason people get in trouble or get incarcerated is nobody's ever listened to them.
True.
Children that are 5 throw temper tantrums because they don't have the words to express their emotions. Adults do the same thing, but they can hit harder, they can throw harder. That's domestic disturbances. That's somebody throwing a temper tantrum, literally. Yeah. So when you get them in jail and they're mad and frustrated and pissed off, hey, man, what's going on? Give them that opportunity to speak. Let them do that verbal diarrhea and get all that frustration out. Okay, now that we've lowered the temperament, we can work through what we need to.
Yeah.
So I give a lot of what I'm able to do on the streets and with negotiators and all that stuff, like testament of living and working with these guys for 3 years.
Yeah.
So that's, if you want it, stay after it. If you don't know if it's for you, start in the jail. It's stable job, retirement, vacation,
Yeah.
work for the police department.
Yeah,
which is cool in
highly
and of
recommend
itself. So it's a good starting point, and I'm glad I started there because I wouldn't be who I am today had I not been hired to be hired as a jailer. So.
Right. Awesome.
That's good
Well,
stuff.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
I hate that we didn't get to your shirt choices, but
America.
We love America.
Yeah, I wore this to a training event in Irving. I sat in the front row, and Chief says to me, was like, well, I appreciate y'all coming. We're here. Irving's here. Because I think it's safe to say that Grand Prairie is a little more patriotic than Irving.
Yeah.
And then I think somebody was like, I think we should sing the Pledge of Allegiance if Aaron will stand up. And then like 2-3 hours later, Chief texts because he's in the same training. And he was like, can you wear something a little more professional? I was like, more professional? It's the most professional American-made shirt I've got.
That's funny.
So I purposely had to wear this today.
That's funny.
There was method to the madness.
That is funny. All right, guys. Well, we're out of here.
Till next time.